Alright, today proportions and similar figures. Although the similar figures we will be discussing today will be triangles. This will also work with squares and other things. But proportions will give you a way to solve for the missing side of figures that are similar. And with triangles, which are the most common that you'll see, there are three basic types. I'll work one of each for you. Let's get going. Alright, we're going to start over here. And let's say we have this building, we need to know how high it is for whatever reason, and we can't really climb it, we can't really measure rulers all up to it or get up at the top and jump all off with the tape measure, but we notice that it's casting a shadow that we can measure. But that alone won't help us unless we know trigonometry and things like that. Then we can measure the angle here and that kind of stuff. But here, we also notice in that same parking lot some parts away, not drawn to scale, there's a 3-foot fence post, and it's casting a 2-foot shadow, so we can measure both of those. And then we realize that the sun is in the same place, casting the same angle here, so we can get 2 feet shadow here and use this relationship to unlock this one for us without us having to jump off a building or something. Even though doing math, sometimes you want to jump off a building or something. Don't do it. Alright, so over here, the way we do this, it's real easy. Lines and labels, lines and labels, lines and labels, lines and labels, lines and labels. In case you missed it, you start off with lines, and then you do labels. What I mean by that is this line is a fraction bar. We're going to use a proportion here and a proportion there. This one will represent that relationship. This one will represent this relationship. But if you draw your lines first and then label them, it's really easy to know right where the numbers go. Don't have to think. It's really difficult to get lost, and then it's easy. So here, you can label them anything you want to. Here I'm going to say tall and shadow. So I'm going to put tall, tall, and shadow, shadow. And then as long as the tops match each other and the bottoms match each other, it doesn't matter which one's on top, which one's on bottom. So here, tall on this one, we got, X. Shadow, 48 feet. And notice they are all in feet, so you don't have to convert anything. If some were inches or meters or something, you would need to get them all speaking the same language before you do this. But in this case, they're already there. So here we have a tall of 3 feet, and we have a shadow of 2 feet. Okay, now those of you that remember the Zhu Pao from a previous video, this will be old school by now. Those of you who don't, well, pay attention. It's not real hard, but this will be a shortcut for you. Look to the X, like a treasure map. X marks a spot. It's on the left here. Start the flip side of the X, cross corner, Zhu Pao, Zhu Pao, and you just knock it out. So here we got 48 times, this crossing here reminds us to multiply, 48 times 3. 48 times 3 is 144. So we have 144 here divided by, that line means divided by 2. 144 divided by 2 is 72. So this will be 72 feet. No problem. Lines, labels, lines and labels, lines and labels. Then put your numbers where they go. Zhu Pao it, and you're done. Next. Over here we have a similar situation except for jumping off a building. We're going to have to swim across here with a tape measure in our mouth or something to get that whole thing while somebody keeps hold of it here. Or we could just measure the other things and figure it out. Now we're going to do that method here. We're going to figure out the things we can measure, staying dry, to figure out the length across this pond right there. Or cavern or whatever it is. So the only trick here is we have to figure out how the triangles line up. See, here they're lined up. The right angle is here. The right angle is here. They're already lined up the same direction. Here they're facing different ways. So we have to kind of move that around. So if we visualize that, we can say, okay, well, right here where this cap is, that's the corner where the right angle is. And if we move it, now it comes up there. So if we just rotate there, we have to do that in our mind to figure out what lines to use. But meanwhile, I'm going to do our lines and labels, lines, and then labels. And now this one is a tall, but it's not the hypotenuse, it's a leg. So I'm going to use long and something. So long and long, again, they have to match. And so as I rotate this around, the long one goes on top of the X. And the 6 goes on top of the 12. I could use the other one too, but I like the 6 and the 12 just because those others might be too easy, but they should work either way. So I'm going to say 12 and 6 are the short sides. So I'm going to go long and short, long and short. Again, the labels don't matter as long as you understand them. So this one I'm going to represent the big triangle. This one I'm going to represent the little one. Over here, what's the long one? Well, that's X. That's what we're looking for, X. The short, well, we're going to do 12. And on this triangle, which is over here, which one's the long? The long, in this case, is 8. As I overlap it, the 8 overlaps the X. And then the 6 overlaps the 12. Okay, so we do the same kind of thing. And there are other ways to do this besides the Jute Pow. In this case, there's a pattern going on which some of you will already recognize. But not all of them will have that relationship. And this Jute Pow will work whether they have this relationship that some of you see or not. So start with the X, flip side of the X, cross corner, and Jute Pow. This tells us to multiply. 12 times 8 is 96. 96 divided by 6. 96 divided by 6. If we do that, we have 16. So that is our answer here. We have 16 meters is the distance across that pond. We didn't even have to get wet. Didn't even have to get wet. No problem. There it is. So just lines first, then your labels, and then Jute Pow and you're home free. So that's it. Sometimes they'll be lined up the same. Sometimes you have to rotate or flip them to side to side. Like for instance, maybe they didn't give us these sides here. Well, that's okay because we didn't need them. And if they didn't give us the other ones, we could use the other ones. We don't have to have every information, just the right information. So over here, there are 2 triangles here. They're in different colors. 2 triangles, different colors. And at first, the drawing just in one color may mess up some people, and it does, but there's no need for that. I just realized that there are 2. We're going to use this one for that triangle, and we're going to use the purple for the purple triangle for the lines. So again, we're going to look for a tall here, and then we don't have the hypotenuse on either one of them, but that's okay, we don't need it. We just need one other side on both. So we have the tall, and we have the long. So I'm going to use tall, again, tall, and long. Again, you can make them up whatever label you want as long as they make sense and the tops match each other and the bottoms match each other. So on the green, what's the tall? We have 6 inches there. And what's the long? We have 15 inches there. See how easy it is when you got the lines and labels already there? You don't have to think, just plug in your numbers. It's easy. Then over here we have the tall. Ooh, there's our X. Keep track of the X. Then we have 10. Oh, no, we don't. We have, with the purple goes all the way over. Remember that, especially if there's only one color, like it's just printed in black on your paper or something or on the screen. In some color, it goes all the way over. So we have to add those to 25 inches. And again, they're all speaking inches, so we're good to go there. Flip side to the X, Jute Pow. We multiply here. 25 times 6, 30. 25 times 6, 6, 12, 13, 14, 15, 150. So 150 divided by 15. So we got 150 divided by 15. Well, that's kind of neat. Just knock that up and you get 10. And then we'll check it just to be sure if that's correct. Okay, I didn't show you on the other ones, but I'm going to go ahead and show you on this one how to check. There is a way to check these, and I want you to be able to do that because sometimes they'll ask you, are these figures really similar? And then they'll give you some numbers, and you have to figure out whether or not they really are similar figures or not. Here's how you do it. You check the proportion. You set up a proportion with the measurements they give you, and then you check them to see if they're right. If they are correct, when you cross multiply, the products will be the same. For instance, if I go here, 15 times 10. Well, 15 times 10 is going to be 150. You can do that out long ways if you like. 150. So let's multiply this one. We have 25 times 6. Oh, we already did this over here. That is 150 also. So 150 matches 150. So, yep, that one is a proportion. Those figures are indeed similar. So proportions, though lots of different places, today we just use them to figure out the missing side of a similar figure. First your lines, then your labels, find your X, Jute Pow, and you're home free. See you next time.